Today, chapel speaker to you today. Some of you know him from Encounter. Some of you know him from Camp Champion. Some of you might know him as a YouTube sensation. Not really. We make dumb videos and put them on YouTube for camps. And so, love this guy. He's hilarious. Just so you know, it's a very dry sense of humor, so you might not realize he's joking. Megan, right? Yeah. So just pretty much expect everything he's saying is a joke, and you'll appreciate it. So y'all give a big, warm welcome to J.E. Bundy.
Hello? Okay. I am not hilarious. I want to just go ahead and start right there so you don't have high expectations of humor and jokes and things like that. But LCU, right, guys? Do y'all love being here? Yeah? I have wanted to speak in chapel since I was a freshman at LCU, and it only took me 20 years to finally get here. So this is a big deal for me. LCU has been a huge part of my life, and I'm not going to talk a whole lot about it, but just since I'm here, standing in this place, I just can't help but mention a few things. But this place changed my life. It really did, and that's like the mission statement, changing lives, and it worked on me. And as I was sitting up here, like, it's funny, like, just things start coming back to you, and like I heard this voice just a second ago, and I was like, I know that voice, and I looked over, and it's Dr. Camp, and I remember sitting in chorus room when I was a freshman and sophomore, and he probably doesn't remember me because I skipped several times my sophomore year. But I remember being in chorus, and I remember hearing that voice. I remember doing Master Follies. I remember doing all these things. And I remember some conversations that happened on this campus that changed my life forever. Conversations where people like spoke really harshly to me, and because I needed that, and they needed to kind of wake me up to the reality of who I am. But LCU's left its mark on my life. And before I even got here, it started with I wanted to invite my mom and my dad up on stage. Is it okay if I invite my dad up on stage? My mom isn't here. Dad, you come on up here. This is my dad, Bill Bundy. He is one of your board of trustee members, but I know him better as Dad. And he went to LCU way back, a long time ago. He's super old. He's not really, but LCU started making a difference in my life before I even got here because it made a difference in my dad's life. And my dad was probably one of the most, not probably, he is the most influential person in my life. Can I show y'all a thing that I brought today? Do y'all want to see a thing that I brought today? Okay, hold on one second. Let me go get it. All right, do y'all want to guess what this is? It's a guitar case, and inside it is a guitar. A lot of y'all don't know, I'm from Ruidoso, New Mexico. Anyone out there from Ruidoso? There you go. A couple of days ago, we had a fire broke out in town, and it was kind of scary, and they started sending out like pre-evacuation notices to some people. And as it was going on, me and my wife, Megan is right here. Raise your hand, Megan. There you go. She's so supportive of me. Thank you. Me and Megan were sitting in our home, and we're like, okay, if we get the notice that we need to get out of town, what are we going to get? And like, there's very few things that we thought were like super important that we needed to get. One was like this plaque that, do y'all know Brooke Wendell? Anyone know Brooke Wendell out here? Brooke Wendell made us this plaque. Yeah, yell for her. She's awesome. She made us this plaque. We're like, we need to get that. We need to get some pictures of the kids. And those were things that Megan said. Then the one thing that I said was this, all right? Because this is like my most prized possession in the whole world, okay? This was my dad's guitar for a long time, all right? And then about, I don't know, how long has Heather been married? Like 15, 16 years? So for the last 15 or 16 years, this has been my guitar, okay? And so I remember growing up and watching my dad play this, and he would go down in the basement when we lived in Montana, and he would practice guitar, and I remember listening to him play some of his favorite artists, which were like James Taylor and Simon and Garfunkel, and like some great people, not like today's music that's awful, but really good music. And those were some of his favorites, and those became my favorites. All right, not because Dad told me they had to be my favorites, just because I looked up to my dad and I wanted to be like him. All right, and so this guitar has been through a lot. Like, see where this is kind of rolling up right here? We had a dog named Shadow, and he liked to pee on this guitar case, and so that's why this guitar is broken. But like I said, about 15 or 16 years ago, it's pretty, isn't it? It's a beautiful guitar. 15 or 16 years ago, my sister got married, and she asked my cousin, Lan, to play in her wedding. She didn't ask me to play in her wedding. She asked my cousin, Lan, to play in her wedding, and I was like, well, I want to play too. And so I called Dad, and I said, Dad, would you bring your guitar so that I can play in Heather's wedding? Like, I just said, I'm going to do it. And so I didn't care what she wanted. And so, Dad brought this guitar, and then whenever he was ready to fly home, he gave me this guitar. And, like, that was a huge thing for me. Like, this is one of the most important things that I own. Like I said, if there's a fire, this is the one thing that I would save, even more than my Xbox or anything like that. So, but for a long time, I thought maybe I kind of, like, I remember watching Dad grow, or when I was a kid, I was watching Dad, and he was playing the music, and I was like, I want to be a great guitarist. I want to learn to play guitar so awesome. And for a while, I thought maybe I'll even be a musician. Maybe that'll be my job, is I'll be a musician. Okay, and so I'm not going to play anything right now because I'm so nervous about the time, because Josh told me if I go over time, then y'all start throwing things and yelling and stuff, and so I don't have time. But I wanted to be a musician, but the reality is there's another person in my life who has made a big impact on my life, and that is my wife, Megan, and I'm going to make her come up here now. So, Megan, come on up here. And I was going to tell an embarrassing story about her, but then I decided since she's coming up here already, I'm not going to do that. But that's enough for today, is that she came up here. But she helped me to understand who I was too, and one of the things she helped me to understand is that I'm not going to be a musician, okay? And she did that mainly by mocking and laughing at me. But she helped me to kind of determine who I was going to be. As a man, as a husband, and as a father, she's kind of helped me, like, over and over again, helped me to come back to this person that I'm supposed to be. Dad didn't have to teach me to like the music that he liked. Like, that just happened because I looked up to him, and I kind of wanted to be like him. And so just by him living his life, he passed down a part of who he was to me. Whenever I was in college, Megan didn't try hard to impress me. She really didn't, okay? I tried really hard to impress her, and maybe a few times it worked, I guess. But she worked in the bookstore. Y'all know where the bookstore is? It's in a different place than it was when we were here. But she worked in the bookstore, and so I remember she was a freshman and I was a sophomore, and I would go into the bookstore whenever she was working there, and I would just sit there for hours. I would just find out when her shift was, and then when she would clock in, I would just sit down with her, and then when she would clock out, then I would leave with her. Like, I would just hang out with her the entire time she was there. Leilani Carter was running the bookstore at that time, and I'm sure she hated me being there because I killed her productivity. But Megan didn't have to try to make an impact on my life. She just is who she is, and just by being her, it made a difference in my life. And so what I've come to understand, guys, is that we all have a legacy that we're going to leave on this earth, all right? And Dad passed down more than just a love of music. He passed down a love of God. He passed down his faith to me, not by lessons, not by speeches that he gave me, not by any of those things, just by living his life the way that he is and being the person who he is. And you guys are going to leave a legacy, okay? It's inevitable. You guys are going to leave a legacy on this planet, all right? And it's not going to be by the things that you say. It's going to be by the things that you do. In Deuteronomy chapter 6, 5 through 7, it says, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And these words that I command to you today shall be on your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and you shall talk of them when you sit in your house and when you walk by the way and when you lie down and when you rise." All right? That's basically your entire life. He's saying that that's the way that you're going to teach these things diligently to your children, to the people around you, is when you walk down the road, when you sit in your house, when you're eating dinner, when you're at work, when you're at school, when you're hanging out with your friends, that these are the things that are going to pour out of you because of who you are, not because of these things that you say you believe, but because of who you are. People are going to see that, and it's going to make a difference in their life. Just like my dad made a difference in my life just by being who he is. My wife made a difference in my life just by being who she was. Okay? And so my question to you guys is, what is your legacy going to be? Because you kind of have a decision to make as to what kind of person you are going to be and what kind of impact you're going to make on this world. And we come to college and we're looking at the future, right? We come to college to prepare for real life. And so we look at what we want to do as a career. We look at who we want to marry. We look at the kind of person that we want to be whenever we leave here. And your legacy might be giant piles of money that you make in some awesome job. It might be that. It might be some list of huge accomplishments of being the person who did the most of these things. I don't know what your legacy is going to be. But what I hope is that instead of those things, that you have a legacy that's actually worth something. More than money, more than accomplishments, more than just accolades, but that you have a legacy that impacts this world for the kingdom of God. Okay? I'm going to bring 3 more people up on stage real quick. Will, Katie, and Clark, wherever they are, run up here as fast as you can. All right, as fast as you can. Clark's all the way in the back. That's awesome. All right. All right, these are my 3 children, okay? Will is this first one that's coming up on stage. You might think he's like 18 years old, but he's 11. He's just a giant. And then my daughter is right in the middle, or she's not in the middle physically, but age-wise she's in the middle. And that's Katie. And then this is Clark, okay? And I'll tell you this. I think of myself as kind of I like to think highly of myself, okay? I think I'm pretty awesome. In the fact that if this building were to burn down, I really believe that I would try to come in and save as many people as I could. Okay, I believe that about myself. I've never been in that situation to find out, to test my mettle. I hope I'm never in that situation. But I believe that I would. I believe that I would try to do something good to save you. But today I wouldn't. I would let all of you burn. Because those 3 people are in the room, okay? And I love them a whole lot more than I love any one of you out here. It's the truth. I'm sorry. Hopefully someone loves you as much as I love them, but I don't love you as much as I love them, okay? I love them so much more than you. And if this building were to catch fire, I would grab all 3 of them and I would run out and I'm like, okay, good, I'm done. I would let everyone else in here burn. All right, Raina, don't tell your dad I said that. So. And the reason I tell you that is because I want you to understand there's nothing more important to me than leaving a legacy that's going to impact these people the way that my dad left a legacy that impacted my life. All right? Because that's the way legacy works. It's passed down from generation to generation, all right? From old to young. And if you don't have any old people in your life, you need to find some. I'm serious. That's not a joke. That's one that's not a joke, Brad. So, thank you, Clark. Look at that. He's just doing that so that y'all will think he's cute. But there's nothing more important to me, all right, than being the kind of person that's going to show them not by what I say, but by what I do, that working for the kingdom of God is the most important legacy that I can leave behind. That living a life dedicated to Him and to His kingdom is more important than anything else. And that's my goal in life. And I hope that you guys have a similar goal, something to where when you look at the legacy you want to leave, that you leave something lasting. Okay, I'm going to give you two things, and then we're going to be done. One challenge, okay? And probably none of you will do this, but maybe 1 or 2 of you will, and it'll change your life forever, okay? Sometime this week, I know you're students and you're very busy. Sometime this week, I want for you to sit down and I want you to write your own eulogy, okay? I want you to write the things that you want to hear at your funeral. So you've just died, and here are all the things that people are going to say nice about you now that you're dead. And most of you probably won't write that he worked 90 hours a week or that he made tons and tons of money, but you'll write things about how you impacted people's lives and how you lived and how you loved your family. Those are the things you'd write in your eulogy, probably. But I want you to think about what you want said at your funeral. And then after you write that, then I want you to live a life that will make people actually say those things about you. Okay? So that's one challenge. And And I'm gonna leave you with this. This is a charge that was read to me probably 10 years ago whenever I first got into youth ministry. And from time to time, I like to pull it out and remind myself of this. And I want to give this charge to you as our dismissal. So if you will, please stand up. This is kind of our closing prayer and my closing charge to you. And after I'm done, then we'll be dismissed. Arise today through the mighty strength of God, through the belief in the Trinity, through confession of the oneness of the Creator of creation. God's might to uphold you, God's wisdom to guide you, God's eye to look before you, and God's ear to hear you, God's word to speak for you, God's hand to guard you. May Christ shield you today against poisoning, against burning, against drowning, and against wounding. Christ with you, Christ before you, Christ behind you, Christ in you, Christ beneath you, Christ above you, Christ on your left and Christ on your right, Christ in the eye of everyone who sees you, Christ in the ear of everyone who hears you, Christ in the heart of everyone who thinks of you. Arise today in the name of Christ, and you will not be stopped. Amen. Thank you.